Hello, everybody. Good evening in America, and good morning to you, George, in Korea. Still morning. Um, Today, I'm very happy to have on Stephan Loeffler. He is one half of um, the podcast on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Pacific. It's called About the Cards.
Central.
It's eight. I thought it was 8 p.m. 8 p.m. What?
I said 10 Central.
Yeah, I'm
That's
sorry. I was not prepared for that. I should have been. I'm so used to hearing it. 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 Central, 11 Eastern,
yep.
every Wednesday night. Thursday morning for me when I'm at school and working. So I'm very happy to have Stephan on today. I've been meaning to have you for a while. Occasionally, I'll see Stephan in the hobby roundtables on 3B Collections channel, but that's the only time I've spoken to Stephan. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing pretty great. Weather's good. Got some things brewing up the storm and some good episodes coming out. So
Awesome.
doing great.
I wanted to have Stefan on because I know he collects a lot of different stuff that I don't collect, and I know he's into gaming. And actually, I forgot to ask. You're into actual like Nintendo gaming, right?
hmm Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe we could talk about that as well.
Sure.
And he's also sci-fi, fantasy, like I am. I got a lot of my fantasy sci-fi figures up here. Um, and I don't know. I forgot to show you these before we started. I was talking to Stefan beforehand, but these are some. Whether you know about this in Okinawa or not, but these are Kinnikuman figures. Do you remember
Okay.
Kinnikuman, the wrestler in
Yeah.
of muscle fame in America?
Sure.
MUSCLE. These are, I think there's about 16 figures. These are very, they have a lot of, what do you call it when the joints move? Articulations.
Articulate. Yeah.
I mean, they're small, but they're not cheap. They're like 15, anywhere from 15 to $30 each for these guys. I'm trying to collect all of them, but maybe people will recognize this one. This is Kinnikuman. This is the main guy. I'm sure you guys recognize him.
Okay. Yeah.
From their pink figures,
Sure.
which I think are called erasers in Japan, but they weren't. I don't know if they were technically erasers in America. I don't know if they erased, but yeah. So I've been collecting these recently. I haven't been spending a lot of money on figures. I'm trying to cut back because I'm very fickle when it comes to collecting stuff, and now I
Understandable.
want to get rid of some figures. But these I'm positive I want to try and collect all of them. I did buy a couple more on a Japanese website the other day, and hopefully I'll get those in a month or so. Um, this guy is actually called Ramen Man. Well, yeah, I should say this is English name. I don't know what his name is,
right.
Japanese name is, but this is Ramen Man. Yeah, maybe I'll show those another time. I don't want to keep us busy. So I did ask Stefan if he was comfortable telling me about where he's been. So I know you said you were a Marine brat,
Yep.
and it was Okinawa that you were in, right? When you were in Japan.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I want to know. Now, I don't. You don't have to tell me the birth of Stefan, but can you tell me pretty much more or less from when you were young to now where you've lived?
Sure. Born in Minnesota, have family all over Minnesota. Uh, Parents finally got married. We moved to Yuma, Arizona. From there, after a short stint, we moved to Montgomery and Prattville. From there, we went in 9/11 '99, moved to Japan. Spent 2.5, 3 years on Okinawa, Camp Lester, Camp Fatima briefly, and out in town actually for about a good year and a half of that time, just because of allocations for base housing. But from there, moved to just outside New Orleans. That was stationed in New Orleans. And of course, around 2005, some hurricane came by, Katrina. Knocked out his base. His base was already on the list of like the bases to move anyway. Parents gave me a choice. You can come with us to Texas, settle, go through however many, because this is my senior year, go through however many high schools until we actually get fully settled because nothing's permanent. They stayed in that hotel for 6 months and then moved into actual housing, and then it would have been the whole cluster. Or you can go to your cousin's house in Ohio. He's 2 weeks younger than you, and it's practically a brother. Finish off your senior year. Come join us afterwards. So I chose that option because who at 17 wants to stay with their parents? Yeah, okay, right. No,
Where in Ohio?
Dayton, the Dayton area, which is where I eventually met the wife, and we started talking after I moved back to Texas. She moved down here, and that's the fairy tale story,
So,
if
oh,
you
I'm sorry.
will.
So, '05 is when you went to Texas. Went to
Um, so after Katrina, I graduated in '06 and then moved that summer. So '06.
so you've been there since, oh, so 15 years more or less
Yeah,
in Texas. Okay.
good year.
And
11
yeah,
years.
I assume. Well, so I know you. You work. Do you work from home?
I do currently. Just because the sorry, the boom mic keeps moving on me. Like, stay
Oh, I
still.
was wondering, are you like a
Right. Um, the no, the ComC Dallas office isn't the biggest. I think a few people have seen Rich in his office during a few hobby hotline appearances. But for the pandemic reasons, we've just decided it's a whole lot easier for us to stay at home. I still go up there about two or three times a week, just to 2 or 3 times a month. Sorry, let me correct myself there. Um, Either for Rich's IT issues, or it's been a while to get out of the house, wanted to drive, something like that. But for the most part, yeah, we both work from the house.
I don't know why I always wasn't thinking this. I know ComC is based in Bellevue.
Redmond and Auburn,
Redmond.
or sorry, Algona. Yeah, Redmond and Algona.
All right, yeah. I was in Seattle for 5 years, so I know where that's at. But yeah, so I don't know why
Gotcha.
I was think I well I knew that you guys worked at ComC, but I don't know why I wasn't thinking when I was thinking we were working from home, I was thinking there was no ComC location in Dallas for some reason. But yeah, yeah, I know that yeah, you guys have mentioned it a lot, so I don't know why I wasn't thinking that.
It's not like an actual location. It's not a building or anything. It's a Regis facility wherein they rent out a certain amount of the inner offices within the main building. But yeah, no, they created a spot for Rich. Realized, well, hey, if we have the office space anyway, if we have a qualified candidate, then we can always have them join Rich at the office. And that's how I started working in processing initially, and now I'm doing. I moved to customer service, and now I'm doing. I'm the lead social media manager, as well as a little bit of marketing. So.
Were you doing identification before?
Yep. Yeah, that's the processing part. So anything that needed corrected, or I identified at processing orders, as incoming submissions, stuff that we handled.
Okay. And how long have you been with ComC?
Coming up on 3 years. January, February, somewhere in there.
Okay. I guess where we can start is little stuff and crawling around or walking around the
Sure.
house. What do you remember? What the first thing you became interested in, whether it was sports or cartoons or like I should say non-sports or sports, like growing up, toys or cards or anything like that.
As far as a hobby, I mean, I was huge into Batman the animated series. Had a good chunk of the toys. Had I won a couple of the Batmobiles. Um,
Superpowers?
Particular,
Was that superpowers? Oh no, no, that was my time. Was this? I'm assuming this was. I'm sorry. What
yeah,
was related to the cartoon?
yeah, the animated series, 1992. I think it
Was
started
that
93
Mark
somewhere in
Hamill
there.
doing Joker? Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Um, as far as my first actual toy that I remember, I've been told that I really adored a bright yellow all metal Fisher Price bus. Bus was apparently my first word for some reason.
Who
I
won
don't
it?
know
Who won
why.
it? Okay. Yeah.
Um, but from there, I do very very distinctly remember opening packs of 1991 Fleer, because who could forget that set?
91 Flare. Oh,
Like, um,
I'm sorry.
it's kind of impossible to not remember that set. But from there, my dad came back from Desert Storm. Unfortunately, not with the Desert Storm 1991 Topps cards, but a factory set of 1991 Topps and 1990 Score, that I broke apart because, well, kids are curious. What's in this? Why can't I open it? Um, and spent a good bit memorizing all of the stat packs and score in particular. When you've got like 3 paragraphs on the back describing had a great game on this day, is the single season record holder that holds the all-time games played at catcher record. Stuff like that really caught my attention. Really drew me to math and history and everything else. It was never much of a science or English major for sure. But yeah, and then slowly got into collector's choice in the late '90s, early 2000s. I was doing kind of upper deck Fleer, and then I kind of merged back into tops as the Monopoly started, if you will.
It was. I'm sorry. Was this all baseball?
Baseball, some football, a good chunk of hockey.
All right. So okay. So let me ask you. You. All right. So you grew up. How old were you when you moved from Minnesota?
6, 7 or so, somewhere
Were
in there.
you into baseball or hockey at 5, 6? I'm getting
Well,
old too now.
I mean, the going joke is that every Minnesotan learns how to skate before he learns how to walk. I'm sure that's partially true to a point, but for some reason or another, we lost a hockey team there, so my interest in that kind of waned. But I was drawn to baseball and football really when we moved into Alabama, which I mean Auburn, Alabama, Auburn fan by the way.
Mhm.
Uh, you're kind of forced to choose a household. Did get into street hockey for a good bit, and until my ankles decided, yeah, you don't do that anymore. But and that's kind of where my love of hockey evolved from. Watching it, watching the University of Minnesota dominate in the early 2000s, less so in the mid 2000s, um, and into Team USA and eventually the Wild ones, but before the Parise and Suter contracts were signed. But yeah.
I find it. Yeah, it's interesting. You left Minnesota by the time you were 6, and then
Mhm.
you lived in all these other places. Not that I'm not saying it is strange, but did your parents have anything to do with you rooting for these Minnesota teams?
Not particularly. I mean, a mom went to the University of Auburn, Montgomery, so that's why I kind of rooted for Auburn. And dad liked Alabama, so it's kind of a natural rivalry. But dad was actually kind of a Chicago Bears fan. I think the '80s kind of tainted his opinion, but he's also a Vikings fan. Twins. I mean, it's kind of hard not to like a team that won the World Series the year I was born. So there's that.
Interesting.
But no. I mean, and I think a good bit of being a military brat and moving around often is that yearning for what an actual home is with
People have ever people have has that just crossed my mind. Has anybody ever called you like? Yes, there's army brat, and I'm sure there's other terms as well.
sure,
Maybe like mutt or something. I'm not sure.
sure.
What other ones are there?
I mean, army brat, transplant, transient, mutt, of course. But I think with that, it kind of drew me to wanting to collect where I'm from, and well, these people are famous from my home state, or these people were born on my birthday, and added those in as
That's an
well.
interesting way to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. What about Dave Winfield? You're a big Dave Winfield fan?
I am naturally with the Gophers and his 4 leagues that he was drafted into, I believe.
Yeah.
And of course, his years with the Twins, 93, 94, somewhere in there.
Mauer
Huge fan of his.
right?
Oh,
Mauer's
definitely.
from. So Mauer, Winfield. Are there other? I can't think of any other.
Paul Molitor, there's Terry Steinbeck, there is Roger Maris actually is born about 3 hours south of where I was born. So I kind of have a mini Roger Maris collection, even though he's born in North Dakota. Um, Let me see who else. I mean, Ken Herbeck, obviously. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I have some side collections for those guys. Um, I've for the most part stopped collecting the players once they leave the Twins, but I've made some exceptions. Torrey Hunter, Justin Morneau, couple of Rod Carews, Angel stuff. Um, so it's not that I have a sole Twins collection, but I make
I didn't think
exceptions.
about asking you this. I guess I can ask you now. Do you know about how many Twins cards you have?
Ooh, in the collection, can give you a pretty good estimate. I have three 4,000 count boxes, plus relics, plus all of the binders, probably somewhere up around 10,000.
That's a good number.
Um,
Are you always accepting them from people in trades and stuff?
ideally, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to turn them down. So many people send me like huge stack of them, and it's like, okay, extra, 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 extra. Okay,
Right.
condition upgrade. That one's new. This one's new. This one's numbered. It's new. That's it. Because I mean, okay, so yeah, and I'd love to get someone else's opinion on this. I get a base card. Okay, you should only need one for a set. Okay, cool. Set that aside. Paralleled ones that aren't numbered, there's nothing really different. But for me personally, I kind of have a odd obsession with collecting anything that's numbered. So even if I already have number 1354, 1782, those are all new ones because they're not anything different. And I don't know if that's just me or if I just need one gold, one green, one purple to 50 or what has you. Um, so maybe that's just me, but
Now, I know you. So, another question I had was, when do you remember when you started collecting hockey?
hockey, late 90s. I had spurned the Dallas Stars, but I really got kind of drew in around at the time that Wayne Gretzky was starting to get retired. It's definitely watched his Blues years and the Rangers years. He retires, and then I kind of latched on to the Avalanche Detroit rivalry with mom being from the Detroit area. Lived there for the first 10 years or so of her life. Um, and I mean, with all of those Russians and all of those cups that they were winning in the 90s, I mean, who couldn't like Detroit? Um, but
Yeah, I was actually an Iserman fan in Chicago.
of course, I kind of like Fedorov and oh, what's his
Lidstrom?
name? Hmm?
Did you like Nicholas Lidstrom? Lidstrom?
Liddy, sure, yeah. Um, no, the goal scorer. Crap, his name escapes me.
There were two of them, right? Russians, Fedorov and hockey's not my forte.
I'm drawing blanks. It'll come to me. There's one that's like known for having the insane stick handling and puck scoring ability that
Mm.
I was really drawn to his through the early 2000s. But then, I mean, once the Wild got a team again, I kind of followed, but more so on the college level. I was just more interested in that and Team USA's. And then got hints that the Wild were starting to be good, so I started watching them really in about '08, so 07, '08, '09, somewhere in there, and just kind of followed along since.
So late '90s. What brands were out for the hockey at the time?
Um, that I collected anyway. I did Upper Deck, and I did a few of the Score. I believe had a set. Donruss definitely did. I was really drawn to the goalie mask. I think Pinnacle had a insert set with those. Um, but mostly Upper Deck. Even in basketball, it was drawn to Upper Deck with Collector's Choice, and they had more kid cartoons on the back. I think they had a Space Jam set um, that drew my attention as a kid.
Do you have a favorite player?
In hockey,
Yeah.
the homer in me is going to say Wyatt Smith. Was born in my hometown, but on the actual players front, currently Kaprizov plays for the Wild. All time, somewhere between Mike Modano and not Brett Hull, but the Penguins guys, both of them, Yager and Lemieux, and of course Gretzky, because I mean, how can you not?
Okay.
But that drew me in, once he was breaking all of these records. That drew me into the history of the sport, and you quickly run into, well, that's a lot of Minnesotans and Canadians, and I'm not fully Canadian. I wasn't born there or anything, but Grandma was, so I'm a quarter Canadian, and that's a nice little heritage knotted tie-in.
Was she in the province just north of Minnesota, or
Yep.
about?
Yeah. She was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Well, just outside of it, but.
So you're not a Jets fan?
They're actually closer than the Wild are to me. Minneapolis is about a 6-hour drive south from where I was born, and Winnipeg's probably an hour and a half, somewhere in there. But I think with them disappearing in 96, 97 or so, this is kind of like just eclipsed being maybe a fan of them. And then now, I guess, with the Atlanta Thrashers moving in 2009, I think, especially not with them in the same division as the Wild.
Because I know you were into baseball and hockey, and you collect both. Do you have a preference for collecting and or watching? Which one do you like more?
I would say, from a historical standpoint, definitely I like collecting more on baseball. I watch less games than I do spending time reading about them or collecting card sets or learning about card sets. But in hockey, I definitely like watching it better. I don't think there's a game in the past 4 or 5 years that I haven't missed watching.
Yeah, no, I love playing baseball.
Sure.
I occasionally go to a baseball game, but I never watch baseball on TV. I agree with a lot of other people. I just find it boring.
Sure.
But that's just me.
And I definitely love it in person more so than watching it on TV.
Oh, sure. And I went to one game this year with George. No, I've been to 2 or 3 games this year, but one time, the first time was with George, and that was his only game this year. And his team is actually going to the Korean Series now.
Nice.
Their team just beat my team. His team is the Doosan Bears. They're based in Seoul.
Mm-hmm.
And my team is the Samsung Lions. They're based in Daegu. I live just outside of Daegu, so they were my new team when I came here. So his team and my team was the 2 seed. His team, I think, was the 4 or 5 seed. And the Korean Series the playoff format is very dumb. I think the 4 and 5 play each other. The winner plays 3. The winner of 3 plays 2. The winner of 2 plays 1. 1 and 2 are not playing this entire time when these other teams are playing.
So they're just pyramid format.
Pardon me.
So that's a weird pyramid format.
Well, it does give like. Yes, you get the 1 seed in the MLB. If you're the number 1 seed, then you get a bye maybe, or you don't. Or you get the weakest whatever seeds available, right? And then 2 and 3 play each other or whatever. But in Korean Series, number 1 is just waiting for everybody else to get beat up, and then they play the winner of all these other rounds.
That's interesting. I almost wonder if the Twins would have advanced further had they not played the Yankees so many times. Well, let me rephrase. I know they would have advanced a little further had they not played the Yankees so many times, but I wonder how far they would have gone had it been played that route.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah. I hate the playoff format they have here. So I know that so in 91 you started collecting baseball, and I know you also collect vintage, right? You collect some vintage.
I do.
All right. So when did you? All right. Yeah. I guess I want to know when did you start collecting vintage, and what do you collect from vintage? I know you collect Twins players, sure. But I think you dabble in some other stuff as well for baseball.
Sure,
vintage.
I do. So when I was looking at creating all of my checklists for my Twins, I looked at it, and with the Senators moving to Minnesota in '61, there's really only 8 or 9, 10 years that or Senators tops. And we're like, well, okay, fine, sure. I'll go back to 51 and collect all of those. There's maybe like 600 cards. And I did find a 58 um, Camilo Pascual and I think Ted Power, the pitching leaders or pitching stars or something to that effect that had the Senators on them. Like, cool, sweet. Hey, that's cool. It's, at that point, 50 years old. Um, yeah, this is really cool. I like the card stock. I like the history. Uh, Definitely want to go this route. And then I started cataloging the previous stuff, and through not so much from the shops, but from the card shows, I started picking up more and more and more 63s, 64s, 65s, sorry, 54, 55, 56s, 57s, down to the point where I'm at now, where I need 153, 252s, and A51 to be done with the entire Tops run of just the Twins Senators line, which is cool. But going further back at the shops and the stores, it's like, hey, this is a bread line from 1920, bread set from the 1920s. Cool, I'll pick up this card while it's available. Clyde Milan, or a 1929 publication card. Okay, cool, I'll pick that up. Or one of the shops here had a T206 for a senator, Bob Groom. Pick that up for $40. Sure, why not? A the back is missing, but I can tell what it is, and it has senators pretty prominently featured. And I just kind of went from there. And as far as the non-sports side, going back to the history part, when I was working in processing, I would identify some of these things that nobody else wanted to touch, just because it would give me some time to research it and then identify it and push it through the system. Well, there was a set that is a copy publication that featured the 50 stars, 50 states, as well as the like touristy attractions or things that are popular in that state. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll knock out my 2 Minnesotas. I'll knock out Angela's 2 Ohio's. And as it were, there was the United States that features baseball on it as well. So cool. Something from 1893, give or take, that features baseball. Definitely want to have it. And when you can pick them up off of several marketplaces for 15, $20, all day, every day. Love it. Have to add it to the collection. And then not so much non-sports as it is just oddball sports. One of the ones that I'm looking to add, there is a Murad Silk collection that it's different universities, the exact same poses, but they have the player colored differently to the university's colors. So for Minnesota, they have like a red, or like for Syracuse, they have orange or whatever. But there's like 10 different sports that are featured. So there's a swimmer, there's like a long jump, there's a baseball pitcher, there's a baseball hitter, there's a football guy. It's really cool. And there's 2 different sizes. I'm like, well, crap, now I need 20 of those. Because of course there's the University of Minnesota Golden Gopher set, which is about the last time they were relevant. But
all right, so I'm sorry, when I said vintage, so I forgot you're going to mention the non-sport vintage. Do you collect and do you, or so like when I said dabble and other stuff, I actually meant non-Twins vintage baseball.
I do a bit of that, yeah, especially with some of the players, like the home run guys or the all-time hits leaders like Tris Speaker, or the Callahan home run guys were like, well, technically he's known for his 18 years with this team, but he spent 1 year with the Senators. Okay, sure. Or like, for example, Rogers Hornsby spent 1926, I think, with the Senators. mostly known as a Cardinal. Added him to a few of his cards to my collection. Um, or Tris Speaker, known for being from other teams. And they're like, okay, well, but the 1960 Fleer Hall of Fame set, I'll add that into my set. And for some reason, actually, the second Fleer Hall of Fame set that they did, or Stars of the Hall of Fame, or whatever it was they called it, they have Walter Johnson as a Cleveland Indian because he was a coach.
Oh.
Like, well, okay, I kind of have to have him too because it's a Senator attachment. So I'm not like strictly tied to just the Senators and Twins. And Angela's kind of dragged me kicking and screaming into collecting a few of the Indians, like Herb Score, who's a longtime announcer that broadcasted a lot of the Indians games that she would catch as a kid. So, okay, sure. We'll pick up a few of Herb Score's cards. His rookie, his Error 57 Tops, something like that. One of them has a well-known error that was corrected. Picked up both. Signature here or there. As well, when she was visiting family in Cleveland, she found a game use bat from somebody that's unknown, minor role player, Lepsio. But come to find out, his grandson just made his major league debut for Pittsburgh the other year. Like, well, that's kind of cool. Now you're gonna have to find one of his game use bats.
Right. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, matching pair.
But then also, and it's less so much. I mean, it depends on your definition of vintage. Some people would say 1981 is vintage.
79, 80 is the cutoff. Come on.
80 is the cutoff. Okay, fine.
I go with 80 as the cutoff.
Okay, so then 77, 78, and 79. There are three guys. It's a funny story. So when we were living in Alabama, we had a putt-putt, mini golf, baseball batting cage type facility not far from us that we'd go to every weekend to spend some money in the arcade or go to the batting cage, what have you. And for the ticket prizes, you could pick up gum, candy, little plastic figures. But they also had stacks of 81 tops, 81 Fleer in particular. You know, my parents are trying to find weird poses, guys with huge afros, big ears, that type of weird stuff. I'd found one that was born in my hometown. I'm like, I have to have this. Wayne Nordhagen. Played for the White Sox, played for the Cubs.
I think that's why I knew the name. He played for the White Sox.
Very briefly for the Pirates. And played for the Senior Pro League. Senior Professional Baseball. It was a league that lasted for 2 years, 89, 90. But I've been very fortunate to find several game use bats of his as well. So I've tagged in his 70s cards into 83, the game used bats, and then his nephew is Kevin Millar.
Really?
Okay, so Marlins, Red Sox, he has a couple international talk for the MLB Network cards. I've chased all of those down, or I'm chasing all of those down anyway, to add to my hometown collection. So
you're 1 degree of Wayne Nordhagen.
Indeed. I mean, from some very minimal research, he apparently moved away. He graduated from Oregon, so he didn't stay there very long. The family apparently still owns one of the dealerships in town, Nordhagen, Chevy, or Ford, or what have you. Very obvious that probably from the same family line.
Sure.
But on the back of his cards, it says he was born at Thief River Falls, Minnesota. Have to have him. Just how it is.
Okay. So if you happen to come across you're not following a player, but you learn they're from Minnesota or thereabouts,
mm-hmm.
does something go off in your brain like maybe I should collect this guy? Let me look into him.
I would, and I mean I do a check every year when the draft is held to see, one, if there's anybody drafted from Thief River, That usually never happens. Maybe in hockey one of these years. Don't know. Um, but for many of my high school in New Orleans that I went to, and as it were, there was one player that did make the major leagues very briefly. Um, but his father was my high school coach. Like, well, I kind of have to collect his cards. Kind of morally obligated to collect his cards.
And get his cards for his dad. Yeah.
Well, and I have virtually every single card. I'm missing 2 autos, no base cards. So, and like I have uh, half of the 101 print run of his cards. So, you could say I have a very dedicated Ryan Eads collection. Um, that I mean, with his dad passing away the early into my senior year, just after Katrina, um, and the field's dedicated in his name now. Yeah, sure. Plus, it helps he was drafted by the Twins, so hello
Right.
people.
Yeah,
How
looks
you
like
doing?
Diego, Mark, and George wanted to see you.
Indeed. Hi.
Yeah, and it looks like George says, "Yep, my only game in like 2 years." I mean, because of COVID, but they
Sure.
have allowed some people in. Okay. Um, you made me think about this when I when did I know there's original Bowman. I don't know a lot about vintage. When what
Sure.
years was Bowman competing with tops? Early 50s, late 40s?
Yeah. So Bowman went out of business in '55, and then they'd started in '48.
Okay.
So with Topps releasing their first quote unquote major run in '51 and their actual major run in '52, you'd essentially say '52 to '55.
Okay, so when it comes to Washington and or Minnesota Twins,
Mhm.
um, from the like I know flagship is flag does flagship is the term flagship. I know it's been what 7 years, so
Sure.
I'm wondering how much of either the Bowmans from 48 to 55, and then from however early Top started to now,
'89.
how about not I guess not including parallels. I will say base
Sure.
flagship. How much of it do you have?
Um, for Bowman, I would say I think I'm missing about 10 Senators and not too many on from '89 until I think I'm done till '97, '98, plus or minus a year or two here or there, and then done again from like '06 until 2012, 2013, 14, 15 until now. Honestly, I don't want to have. It's a I,
Right.
they
Mine
completely
or
exploded that set, and it's a thing that I absolutely hate. You can't tell what actually came from draft, what actually came from Chrome, what actually came from base. What is a base? Do you consider the prospects part of the base? I don't. It's an insert. Sorry, Ben. But yeah, I probably have most of those if I were to guess.
hmm.
But I couldn't honestly say. And then and it was the thing that I posted them at the national. Like, guys, you've been doing Twins and Senators since 1948 and really '89 for tops. Um, in 2017, they had no Twins in the 100 card base set. Like, not a single one.
Yeah, it's
You couldn't have thrown me. Pick a player. Josh Willingham, I think
hmm.
maybe. No, nothing. They're like, well, I mean, that's the thing that we'll have to consider. I'm like, yeah, it would be nice if you actually had representation of all 30 teams that are in the Major League Baseball set for a 100 card set. You're going to do a 30 card set. Okay, sure. One for each, or 25, 15 card insert sets. Sure. You're not going to get everyone. I get that. That's cool. But that's
Not
just lazy,
one.
guys. Come on. Just one, two.
Was Willingham the one that just retired, or was that somebody else I'm thinking of?
I think he retired a couple years back.
Well, I thought there was somebody. Wait, who's the? No, I'm thinking of the Ryan. What's his name? He's on the Nationals.
Oh, he's actually
Ryan.
with the Expos. Zimmerman.
Yes, 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 yes.
I
Yeah,
think he
well,
was the last Expo draftee.
yeah, I think he was with the Nationals for a while, or for
Hmm.
most of his career. I think
I think
something
all
like
of his
that.
career, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah, and I think he retired this year, and it looked emotional. Okay. Yeah, so we covered Twins. I think I asked you most of the hockey stuff I wanted to ask you about. Um, what was the first non-sports cards and/or set you purchased and/or intended to build?
Um, mm,
And of course,
I got two easy answers.
okay.
One that I remember trying to collect, the Goosebumps in book perforated set, uh, as well as the one I think that came out for the TV
That's
series.
the
But
Nickelodeon. Look,
I
Nickelodeon.
believe so. Yes, I was a huge Nickelodeon kid. Um, and then I moved on to Pokemon, of course. We were living in Okinawa at the time, hugely popular. Everybody was collecting them. Everybody was playing
I'm
the
sorry.
game.
Who is that?
Pokemon,
Oh, Pokemon. Okay.
yeah.
Did you ever get into One Piece?
No, but I've heard of it. I know that it has a huge fan base. It's on my list to check out.
Okay.
Just haven't gotten to it yet.
When you
Um,
were in Okinawa, did they have on base? Did they have the English or
they
Japanese?
did, they did. So essentially, what the Armed Forces Network would do, AFN,
Yeah.
um, they would pull all advertising from all of the TV shows from the statesides, and they would bring in a certain percentage, the majority of the TV shows anyway. They would rip out the advertisements, place in the AFN advertisements, and then we'd get the shows 2 weeks later. So there was a good bit of a delay, but we still got the shows. There were a few exceptions, of course. We got the Super Bowl live, we got the World Series live, and of course, for the first time really ever, um, the September 12th, September 11th, we had full on live broadcasting from the States. Which, so when we knew things were serious, was like, this is live.
Wow.
Things are changing. Um,
So the
and of course,
Pokemon. So when you were living in Okinawa, that was the first time you saw a Pokemon.
I think I'd seen it that summer before I moved, so '99. But it definitely really after we moved, is when everyone started playing and trying to collect all of the cards. And before I moved, I actually had the base, the jungle, the fossil, the gym trainers, and the first or second Neo line. So like the first 5 or 6 sets, I had complete. Fortunately, when we got back, my mom decided, hey, you can give your cousin that one. He likes that one. Hey, you can give your cousin that one. He likes that one. So I don't have the full sets anymore, but I do have most of the key players and most of the key names. So I still have my Blastoises, my Charizards, my Mews, my Mewtwo's, a couple of the Dittos, a couple of the major names.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, it would be so much nicer. And I think the financial student loans department would love me if I still had the initial 5 or 6 runs.
Right. And
Those
those
still
were all
somewhere in
English.
like. I did have a good chunk of the Japanese ones too. So just from trades with kids or from the off base kids. And then a
So
couple of the Japanese promo sets, even. So like 100 yen, give you a sticker sheet, and there would be 3 cards and an advertisement on it. A couple of poison counters or whatever. I had the first 3 runs of those. Um, some other promo sets from that run.
how long were you in Okinawa?
So 99 to '02, so 3 years, give or
How
take.
was your experience? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What ages were so 99? You're so young. So you were 12, 13, 14?
Yeah, 12, 13, 14. Yep. I mean, it's 12, 13, 14 is life changing for anyone, but uh, I definitely love the experience. I definitely like the tourism that we got to see there. Some of the politics stuff with people chanting outside of the base that we need to leave or go home. Okay, sure, that's their right. Um, But as a whole, I loved touring the Shuri castles. I loved seeing their temples and their shrines. We actually, in sixth grade, got to go to an island about 3 hours south, Ishigaki. We got to see how the Japanese school kids, essentially their entire day, got to visit the beaches there, and then we returned on a ferry boat back to Okinawa for the end of the weekend. It's really cool.
Did you ever get to Tokyo, Osaka, or Kyoto or anything like that while you were there?
Not for any length of time. We did hit Tokyo and I think Osaka on the way in. I think we had a couple-hour flight delay both times, but I mean, because you're flying 18 hours from Seattle until Osaka, 17, 8, something to that effect. Um, that, but we didn't actually get outside and tour it. Dead had been. He'd actually climbed a good bit of Mount Fuji. And then when we were leaving, well, we stopped in Hawaii for 3 days. That was really amazing. Got to go see Pearl Harbor and some of the mountains and go to the beaches, of course, Waikiki, and uh, see all of that. It's
Mm.
really fun. Really fun.
To this day, what's all right, so you collected in when you were 12, 13, 14, when you
Mhm.
started collecting Pokemon. From then until now, do you still buy some newer Pokemon?
I do. Every now and then, if there's a I really like what they've done with the tins, where you can actually lay them back to back to back to back and get a huge panoramic shot. That's
Mhm.
really cool. Love the idea. Um, but I'll check out a new set every now and then. Kind of evolved into doing a couple sets of Magic.
I was about to ask, that was my next question.
Wasn't really a huge fan as a kid. I just didn't know about it. My cousin was. He's a huge D&D Magic nerd, but I really got drawn in by this Viking set that they did in January. I've known about it for a few years, but the Norse mythology that's on the cards, the artwork especially, really drew me in. The set after that drew her in, and the set after that was a D&D set, a cross promotion where Magic did a D&D run and D&D did a Magic module. Um,
Now those
and
sets you can buy complete.
no, it's similar to Pokemon where you got to build it.
Okay.
And for the Kaldheim, the Viking set, we finished the entire base run, including promos, including giveaways, including the extended series, the art series, everything in that entire set we have, including the base foil run as well, and a good portion of the foil extended art promo foil stuff. So really, really exceptionally took to that set.
What year was that Viking set?
This year, so
Okay.
2021.
Is that one of you? Is that probably your? I mean, excluding maybe your original Pokemon set, is that your favorite TCG set? The Viking.
I mean, I've played a good bit. Flux was really fun, but it's not really a collectible set. It's just here's the deck of cards, um, or there's another card game that we played for a good bit, but I can't remember the name of it at the moment. But it had similar type rules as Magic, where you have a certain amount of power strength, and you get to move around the board and navigate your player through pitfalls and other card playing traps.
Uh, what I also ask you was, I know you mentioned I didn't realize this. I know you had a lot of, or so I guess I wanted to ask you. So your hobbies are collecting cards,
Hmm.
TCG. I'm sorry, sports cards, TCG. You
Yep.
like gaming.
Yes.
Is there anything else? Do you collect any? Do
Oh,
you collect any figures or anything like that?
I do, of course. With the 10th anniversary,
You're
I
a Funko
have,
Pop guy, aren't you?
well, a couple Funkos, but I do have the collector's edition Skyrim Dragon figure, some of the other So Star Wars is right up in front. You've got Sheogorath. There's a couple dragons behind him, as well as Tyrael from the Diablo series. Very nice.
I still need the
Dragonborn.
yeah. I need not Sheograth. Who's the bad
Mike,
guy?
the liar.
He's the Jamora Lord, I think. I
Okay.
forgot. Yeah, I forgot, but I need him, and he's really expensive. I can't find him in less than for less than $60.
And then from the Diablo 3 Collector's Edition set, you've got, if I can not fumble it.
Oh, you're a PC player, aren't you?
PC as well as console.
I've heard good things about Diablo 3. I've never played it.
Diablo 3 is a fun game. I was infinitely more impressed with Diablo 2. It's a better system, I think. It's
Okay.
definitely dated. It did have a re-release this year, which I've played a good bit of through Act 3 already. Really fun series. But when they released this piece is a USB drive that had a key for Diablo 2,
Oh,
which I
wow.
thought was really cool.
Oh,
A
that's
nice
great.
promo piece. And I thought when they released an expansion pack, they would release a body to put on the base molding, but unfortunately, they only released the skull.
I just bought a gaming PC a few months ago or 3 months ago, and I cannot stop playing Fallout 4.
Okay, sure.
I've been playing my actual time. They calculate it for you. I'm at like 4 days right now.
I gotcha.
But
we've cracked a good amount of hours between Skyrim and I mean, who hasn't?
Skyrim.
But also Guild Wars 2, Elder Scrolls Online. I'm a bit of a shooter fan, so I've played Team Fortress, Counter Strike, Half-Life. The Half-Life series I wish would come back, but apparently Valve doesn't know how to count past 2. So
yeah,
Portal. But also, I'm a huge Nintendo fan at heart. So all of the Zelda games, especially some of the Mario games, some of the Metroid games, some of the retro games, especially. Really, it's my first introduction essentially to gaming was Super Nintendo, and I just absolutely love the games. The pixelated artwork, the 16-bit sounds, especially some of the later runs where you could actually slightly over not overclock, but give too much information to the processor and essentially lock up the Super Nintendo. Like Tetris Tech, if you do too many puzzle combinations and swaps, it just like just locks up the system pretty hard. But I mean also like Super Mario World and Super Mario Kart and some of those.
And all of that is on console.
Yes, I also have the Super Nintendo Classic with the controllers.
Okay.
So.
I re-downloaded Baldur's Gate last week.
Oh, fun game! Sure. Neverwinter Nights.
Yeah, I haven't played that expansion. I need to get
Icewind Dale 1 and 2.
Down 2. Yeah. Actually, I never beat the original, so I need to start playing that again. But I can't stop playing Fallout 4, and I have a feeling I'm never going to stop playing that because you can build up stuff. Have you played Fallout 4 yet?
Yes, I played 3, 4, and New Vegas.
Yeah, I forgot it came out like 6 years ago. I didn't realize it was because I had the Xbox 360 and I had the game, but it was only for the one, I think, and it couldn't cross play on the 360 platform. So I've had it like for 4 years, but I had never played it. But I had the game, but then I finally got the PC, so now I can play it on PC. But yeah, I love Bethesda. I love Bethesda's works. Skyrim, or I'm sorry, Elder Scrolls and the Fallout series. Those are by far my favorites.
Definitely, and completely understandable. And I mean, even outside of those, I'm kind of drawn to their Doom series. I think they're the publisher of that because I think id Software is still the main producer anyway. But
they just Doom games.
Yeah, oh yeah, I play Doom. Love Doom.
How many? I play. All right. I'm aging myself. But when I was in high school, I had this big. Well, I guess there are multiple books, but I played Doom on DOS, and I was able to make I had the DOS. I forgot DOS X, I think it was called, where you make your own make or Doom X. You make your own levels and stuff.
Levels.
Yeah,
Sure.
and so when I was in college, I was actually making my dorm in it, like with the urinals and everything in the
Oh
bathroom.
boy. Nice.
That's how old I am. But yeah, no, I loved Doom when I grew. And did you ever play Rise of the Triad? Did you ever hear of that?
No.
It was a shooter game. I don't know if they. You might be able to find it. I know it was a DOS game. I don't know if it's playable now, but it was crazy. It was like Doom, but a little different. I think you like.
Interesting.
I think you would like. If you like Doom, then I think you would like ROTD, Rise of the Triad, or
Okay.
the Roots, Rise of the Triad, Roots.
I'll have to
Um,
look that up.
it's crazy, but
Um,
it'll be dated.
for console, I mean, of course. For console, there was a good series. The GoldenEye 007 guys moved on from Rareware when they moved over to Microsoft property. And they founded their own company and released a series of games, initially for the PlayStation, but 2 and 3 and no, they're working on 4. 2 and 3 were released on the PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox, as well as the 360 era. But it's essentially all the same guys. Some of the level maps look a lot familiar from the GoldenEye. It's some of the corridors and whatnot. But I absolutely love the Time Splitter series.
It's Time Splitter.
Yes, amazing game. Um, Story
I'm sorry.
mode,
I'm sorry. Time Splitter or Splinter?
Splitter. So like
Splitter.
time split
Okay. Yeah.
ters. Um, the stories were okay, fun for a single round, but essentially the arcade co-op, and it actually had a level map editor built into the console version. It was really cool.
I remember I was in college and someone had a was GoldenEye on
N64.
N64. I remember when that game was so big. I think
Oh
that
sure.
game was so popular. GoldenEye on N64. I guess it was. It wasn't Super
Yes.
Nintendo, right? It was
No, it's
N64.
N64.
Yeah, I mean that game was huge for
Oh
my
definitely.
generation. I mean, I was getting a little bit older, but that game was huge for people when I was in university. It was crazy. Also, I
Perfect
just
Dark.
uh, when I got older, I got into the what's the name of the game where you're Vice City? Who makes that?
Oh, Grand Theft Auto.
The
Sure.
Grand Theft Auto. They're making a Grand Theft Auto trilogy coming
They
out soon.
are.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Looking
love those
forward to
games on Xbox or 360 or whatever I had PlayStation. I don't remember what I played it on. I think it was,
it.
but anyway, those I
Sure.
love just driving around, open-ended game. Do whatever you
Hmm.
want and get yourself into trouble on purpose. I
Vice
can
City, San
yeah,
Andreas.
I
Sure.
can play that all the time. I played the one. Are there Russians in like every version, every game?
I think so.
I don't know, but I played one where you're a Russian helping another Russian friend or something. I forgot which one that was. There's so many of them now, right?
Right. I
I don't
think
know.
there's 5, but then there's also mods adding in other areas.
Maybe not so many, but it might have been like 3 or 4. I don't remember. I think you were in New York City. I don't. No,
Liberty
no.
City?
What?
Liberty City?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I love changing the radio station and putting on like Bob Marley and stuff.
Right.
Driving in your car. I need
Sure.
to download that when it comes out. Do you go play on Steam?
I do play a good bit on Steam.
Okay.
It's actually where I picked up the PC version for initially for Skyrim. But I have a pretty good Steam library. Actually, unfortunately, I have 4 accounts. Long story. But yeah, I have a pretty good Steam collection. So some fun
Um,
games, some trolley games, some I don't want to explain games. Some
oh,
oddities gifted throughout the years.
Halo. I loved Halo too. Halo
Solid
on
game.
Xbox,
Sure.
original Xbox. I loved Halo.
Mm-hmm.
I could play that all over again. Um, well, I'd have to buy it on PC because they're not on Steam.
Right.
It's different, right?
I don't think so.
I want to buy. I want to rebuy that. Yeah, George says, or no, Mark. Yeah, well, Mark, no video games when I was a kid.
I mean, Pong, Mark. It may have been around at that time.
That it does even I think after his name.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. What was the first video you ever played, Mark?
I'm still waiting to play one, I think.
I used to play, or George says I used to love playing Doom on DOS back in the day.
That's very fun. I
Did you ever play DOS games? Was that, or was that after your time?
so I kind of skipped
Before, I'm sorry,
this
before your time? Yeah, it was before your time. Yeah, before your time. Okay. So you ever
maybe
played
it
DOS?
was right around then. I started on a computer anyway. I started with Donkey Kong. Solid game. Arcade or on console?
Yeah,
Um,
Mark, was that on arcade at the arcade or on a console? I'm assuming I would assume arcade. I
it's
don't
Mark a pinball wizard. Uh,
know.
no, I started with the Oregon Trail and the Number Munchers and those type games, and then slowly moved into a couple of the online, not online, but a couple of the download free to play. Nobody knows what it is games, but after that, we had a compact Presario.
Oh my God, I remember that.
That I played a good bit of Diablo 2 on until it broke, and then I got a Dell something or another that a friend gave me. I'm like, thanks. That
Yeah.
I continue my Diablo 3 on and put it
What
in
is the
home
oldest console you
finally.
played?
Oldest console, not including like a re-release or a special
Correct.
33 in one
Original,
type
yeah,
deal.
original.
The original NES. I
Wow.
Super Mario World and Duck Hunt.
Wow. Okay. No, that was actually when, yeah, that was 1985 or 86 when we got that. That was awesome. But before that, my friend had, dude, I'm assuming you know most consoles, whether you've
Oh
played them
yeah,
or not. I'm
sure.
guessing you know they exist.
Yeah,
My
no,
friend,
Amiga and Wonder Swan and Technographics 16. Yeah, sure.
my a friend of mine down the alley from me back in Chicago, he had in. Do you remember Intellivision?
Yep. Yep.
He had horse racing. He had some really strange ones, but I actually enjoyed playing in television back in the day when we were so young.
Nice.
And he also, well, he got a he was their family wasn't rich, but he was the kid that had all the stuff, you
Sure.
know. So he'd have in television. I did play ColecoVision, but I never had it. I don't know if any of my friends did. Oh, another, maybe you played this one. My friend had the Dreamcast. Sega
Okay.
Dream. Was that
Yes.
Dreamcast?
99.99 was it
And we
released?
played Diablo. That was my first time playing Diablo. It was on the
Yes,
table.
actually, it was released on that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That and
yeah,
PS1.
yeah. Now, actually, I was in college. I remember that had to be like around '98.
Yeah, 98, 99, somewhere in there.
Yeah. So if you had to tell me your favorites, okay, what is your favorite console to play on?
I have two hands. Well,
Sure. What do you want to go ahead?
I'll give top three. PSP, just because portability and
Yeah,
it
I've never
can
played PSPs.
really do emulation well. So I have all of my Super Nintendo games backed up onto it that play exceptionally well on there. Um, the Super Nintendo is my top. Absolutely love the Super Nintendo. All the games, even some of the dorky 7 Up advertising tie-in games, or the
Uh-huh.
Chester Cheetah and the something.
Wow, really?
Cool spot.
That's original. How many games do you have?
Probably 60, 70.
Okay.
And my friend has like every single one ever released. He works in IT, he makes far too much money. Um, but and then I would say maybe the GameCube or the PlayStation 4.
Okay.
Um, it, kind of a tie between the N64 and the GameCube, which one I like more. N64 had Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Super Mario 64, but the GameCube had Time Splitters and Wind Waker and some other major titles. So
Did
definitely
you
like
ever get
those.
into any Japanese anime games?
Well, actually, so that's the thing. When they released Super Mario World 2, they licensed the assets to a Japanese puzzle game, Panel Upon, um, that instead of being fairies and little princesses, they were, not Luigi, but Yoshi and some of the characters from Super Mario World 2. That became Tetris Attack. Solid puzzle game. Really keeps the brain active, but some of the others too. I really got drawn in by Final Fantasy 7, 8, especially 9. Kind of skipped 10. I'm currently working through it on my Switch. 12 was okay. I really like 15.
I've never played any of them,
Um,
but I heard of
and
them.
some of the Dragon Quest games for the same reason. I mean, you're going to sit down and play 40 hours, but they're fun games.
Have you heard of Genshin Impact?
No.
A friend of mine also actually I stopped playing it because I was couldn't get past the level. He told Path of Exile.
Yeah. PoE,
But
sure.
I told you a while ago when I was playing it. He told me about Path of Exile.
Oh, Genshin Impact. Okay, yeah, no. Right.
He told me about that. It's amazing. The graphics are amazing. Don't get me
Sure.
wrong. It's in the music and everything is. It's just I don't know what it is. I don't want to say it's boring. Maybe it's a slow burn game.
Sure.
I don't know, but maybe I just need more things happening quicker. I'm not sure, but it's a beautiful game. I'll give it
Oh,
that.
definitely. Yeah.
So you have played Genshin Impact?
Yeah. I think I played at like level 20 or so. Need to pick it back up. We were kind of playing together, and just kind of time wise, we've been trying to figure out what because we were recently changed positions and roles and hours, so we've been trying to coordinate.
Yeah. Okay. I have a feeling we would be able to talk forever. But I hear
Oh, definitely.
look at the streaming on the bottom here, and I'm pretty sure
Yes.
everything's correct. Stephan can be found on Twitter at Junkwax Twins and on the YouTube channel about the cards every
Yes.
Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific.
8 p.m. Pacific, 10 Central. Junkwax Twins on practically anywhere. Instagram, Twitter, maybe not Facebook. I don't
What's your
check it
Instagram?
often, but
Is it Junkwax Twins on
yeah,
Twitter?
it's
On
the same.
Instagram, rather?
Junkwax Twins. Junkwaxtwins at gmail.com even.
Wow.
It's essentially my handle pretty much everywhere.
I need you. I don't know if we're gonna come across paths on Steam, but can you message me? Or I don't know how to do it. Add a friends on there. It seems more
Sure.
difficult than it is. Can you send me whichever one you want to share with me
Sure.
on Twitter and DM?
Definitely.
Okay, and I'll add you. Um, yeah, so I've just been playing Fallout 4, but if there's a game where we might be able to play together, let me know. And maybe
Definitely. Cool.
I'll add it or something. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming on, man. I
Of
appreciate
course.
it.
Love this. Nice.
And everybody make sure you tune into his podcast. But yeah, all right. Thank you very much, Stephan. I appreciate it.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks.
All right, you take care.
You too.